Checking. Hello, boys. I am Jordan, your host today, Fantasy Fanatic YouTube page. If you're new, please like, subscribe. Would love to get some more support on this channel. So today we're going to be going through week 2. Some of the boom and bust guys, some of the players I believe should have some bigger weeks this week after having some duds last week. And then obviously the guys that boomed last week, if I expect them to continue to boom. So right now on Sleeper, definitely got my team I did not have a good fantasy week, first off. I mean, I didn't win in any leagues this week. It was just a terrible week for me. But I'm feeling pretty confident about this team going forward this week. Definitely some good matchups, and then I expect some of these guys to boom. Really, the question I was having was, if you're in this chat, do I start Jerome Ford over any of these receivers this week? If you have any input, please let me know. I was thinking, this is really difficult because, honestly, Devontae Adams and Brandon Ayuk had disappointing first weeks, but Jerome Ford had 20 last week, so I'm definitely trying to consider what I should do on that. But really loving this team. Keon Coleman's playing tonight. I'm interested to see how he plays. I'm not going to start him, but I am interested to see if he has a good game tonight on my bench. So very excited to see that. But we'll go over to ESPN now. We're going to go look at some of the games we got going on this week. Let's see. So obviously tonight we got Miami and Buffalo. This is going to be a great game. I'm very excited to see how this game goes. Now, let's see the game cast. We got Buffalo is winning the matchup predictor right now, but Miami is the favorite. They're -2.5 currently. Looking at the injury report, Raheem Mostert out. Devon Achane looks like he is a game time decision. So if he doesn't play, then obviously Jalen Wright and Jeff Wilson should have some bigger roles in this offense for this game. So we'll kind of see how that goes. And then you look at the Buffalo Bills side of things. There's no one really important out for this game for him fantasy-wise. So definitely looking pretty healthy mostly. Just the Miami Dolphins running backs are all beat up right now. So I will mention that Josh Allen should have a huge game once again. I think he's definitely going to be playing a lot, or rushing a lot, sorry. He's going to be rushing the ball a lot. James Cook's going to have a strong game as well. I expect him to have a bigger game this week. And then Keon Coleman's another guy that I'm really high on that I think will have a bigger week as well. And then obviously we're going to expect Tyreek Hill to have a big game. Will he have as big of a game as last week? We'll see. And then can't forget about Waddle as well. Waddle should have a pretty good game. So, this is going to be a great matchup. I'm excited to see who wins this. I kind of want to lean towards the Dolphins on this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills win. So it's going to be a very exciting matchup. Very excited to see how this game goes tonight. Some of the boom and bust players I'm expecting this week include, we'll go ahead and start naming a few. Drake London's one that's really popping out to me. I think Drake London will have a stronger performance this week, especially after how concerning the Falcons offense looked the first week with Kirk Cousins not looking as mobile. But I do believe that the game plan is going to change, and Drake London will have a bigger role in this offense going forward. He should be number 1 on this team, and there's no reason for him not to be. And then also want to say that I am very high on Amon-Ra still. Yes, he did not have a good first week, but let's not overreact on that. He's still the number 1 guy on this team. It was just not the best game for him. He had 6 targets, but he still ran all the routes on dropbacks. The guy's still going to be number 1 going forward, and I wouldn't overreact after that first week of how he played. Another guy that I am thinking about a lot that I don't have drafted, but Marvin Harrison Jr. should have a better week this week too. Definitely a very concerning first week for him, but he should be number one on this team going forward. I think that he definitely will have more involvement this week compared to last week, so I would expect him to have a bigger game this week, taking on the Rams. It's going to be a very high-scoring game. It's going to be a shootout, so I would expect him to play a lot better. Brandon Ayuk should have a better week as well, in my mind, just because of the fact that he had the whole contract dispute and he just had a limited role to start the year. He actually played a lot more snaps than I thought he was going to play last week. So, and he did drop a touchdown pass. So, I mean, he could have had a better week, but he still got 5 targets for being in a limited role. I think it's only going to go up from here for him. So, I think he will definitely have a bounce back this week, no doubt. Chris Olave is another one of those guys that had a very concerning first week, and we were kind of raving red flags about just because of the fact that they were scoring 47 points against the Panthers, and Chris Olave wasn't involved at all. Like, that was very odd to watch, but I do think Chris Olave will have a bigger role going forward. Obviously, he's still their number one guy. I think that he'll definitely be a guy that will be more involved in closer games. And he's going to be a guy that Derek Carr is going to rely upon more than some of these other guys. So definitely don't be worried about Chris Olave. I do expect him to have a good week going forward. And then I will say if Rome Odunze is out, DJ Moore should have a really good week as well. So I would definitely put DJ Moore up there. I think if Caleb Williams has just about 2 times of a better game than he had last week, DJ Moore should have a good game. So hopefully we see a little bit of improvement on the QB side of things with Caleb Williams with the Bears, and DJ Moore should have a bigger week, hopefully. Now, is there guys that I'm expecting to bust this week? Now, I don't want to get hate for this, and I love the guy. I think he's going to have a great year, but I don't want us to overreact too much on the 2 touchdowns that Xavier Worthy had this week. I wouldn't expect that this week. He only got 3 targets in this game. And for his week 2 projection, he could get another touchdown, don't get me wrong, but obviously Rashee Rice is the number one guy here. He's going to be getting the most targets. Still, Travis Kelce's one of the top guys on this team too. He'll be getting targets. And if Hollywood Brown comes back too, that is going to hurt Xavier Worthy just a little bit. So don't want anyone to overreact on Xavier Worthy's first week. It's great to see a rookie succeed like he did his first game of the season. But I just would not put him at that high of a ceiling. Do I still think he should start on your team? Yeah, of course. I don't think that's a guy you just avoid to start, but I'm just saying I would not expect him to have the same week that he had last week. So just keep that in mind. I think Amari Cooper is going to continue to struggle. This Browns offense did not look good. And he had 9 targets in the backfield, and he only had 2 receptions. So with the offensive line that the Browns have, which did not look good last week, with Deshaun Watson not looking good last week, Amari Cooper, I think, is definitely a guy that is a little worrisome to start on a week-to-week basis right now just because of how bad this Browns offense looks. And yes, he is going to be the number one guy for the Browns, no doubt, but I just don't really think that he's going to have another good week. I don't think he's going to find the end zone. Will the volume be there? Yes, I think the volume will be there. He'll definitely get a lot of targets, but is he going to catch them? That's the thing. We just don't know if he's going to have a lot of opportunities to make plays. So, and then kind of goes the same with Terry McLaurin too. Now, Jaden Daniels, obviously, he can throw the ball downfield very well. We saw it in college, but he struggled to do that in the first game. And so now, them playing the Giants defense, it should be a little bit of a better matchup for him. So I expect Terry McLaurin to have a better week this week, but am I expecting him to have a big week? No. I think he will have a better week. I think he's still the number one guy regardless on this team, but I just wouldn't expect too much out of him. I think they're going to be running the ball a lot too because they do like to run. Jaden Daniels had a lot of good rushing upside in that game with 2 touchdowns. So I think they're going to continue to run the ball a lot, especially with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler in the backfield too. You do a lot of short passes as well. And Terry McLaurin's just not that guy. He's not a short pass kind of guy. He is a guy that you want as the deep downfield threat. So And then you got Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson I'm not really high on. I mean, the Panthers' offense looked terrible this week. And Deontay Johnson, who knows if he's even going to be number one on this team. It's just so spread out. We don't really know what to expect from this offense, and usually the number one guys on terrible offenses don't succeed as much as, say, the number 2, 3 option on a really good offensive team. So I definitely don't think Deontay Johnson is a guy I would start until you see something from him. Will he have a better week this week? I would think so, but I don't want to completely say, oh yeah, he's definitely going to have a boom week. No, I don't know if he's going to be the number one guy on this team going forward with just such a terrible offense that the Panthers have after looking at him the first week. Jaden Reed's another guy that I'm a little worried about. Just pretty much any wide receiver for the Packers going into this week, just because of no Jordan Love most likely. I mean, I'd be shocked if Jordan Love played this week. And Malik Willis is a guy that I don't really think is going to be able to succeed as well. I don't think he's going to have as good of he's a run game type of guy. So, I mean, he's probably going to be running the ball a lot more. And it's going to be hard for him to find these deep passes that Jaden Reed succeeds on. Now, Jaden Reed might be used in the backfield a lot. He might be getting a lot of rushes in this game. I wouldn't be surprised with that. But I just would definitely bench pretty much any Packers player this week just because of no Jordan Love. So I would just stand on that statement. And then I'm a little concerned about Christian Kirk too. Christian Kirk this week, Brian Thomas had a great week. Gabe Davis led the team in receiving yards. Christian Kirk did not look like he was the top guy in this game. He had 4 targets. A lot of the targets were all spread out around. So, I mean, it really was like no one really popped out in your mind like who's going to get the most targets on this team yet. We do not know. And now they're going to be playing the Browns, which the Browns obviously have a great defense, but they're still expecting Jaguars to get some points up in this game. So there is some optimism for Christian Kirk, but I do think Brian Thomas is kind of ascending in this offense just after the first week. He's looking like a very talented wide receiver to have on your team, and if we go towards the end of the season, Brian Thomas could end up being the number one guy on this team going forward. So we'll just kind of see and monitor that. But Christian Kirk's a little bit of a worry for me to start this week as well. Other than that, some guys that we're expecting to kind of boom that are obviously not at the top, but are guys that we saw boom last week that could boom again. Demarcus Robinson, he didn't really boom, but he had 7 targets last week, and now with no Puka Nacua on this offense, Demarcus Robinson could emerge to be the number 2 guy on this team. So I would expect him to. He's the veteran. He's definitely got a lot of experience behind his belt with Matthew Stafford as well. So Demarcus Robinson's a little sneaky flex play this week if you want a guy that's going to be in a really good offense and a shootout with Arizona as well. So their secondary isn't really improved as much this season either from what we saw the first week. So I would definitely consider starting Demarcus Robinson in a flex spot this week if you need a flex. And then obviously, I mean, Allen Lazard having 2 touchdowns, 9 targets, that's definitely something you don't see very often on a guy that no one was high on to start the season, a guy that wasn't hardly even drafted anywhere in any leagues. So I think Allen Lazard's definitely not a bad flex play this week too. Really the only people that got involved in this offense were Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and Allen Lazard in that last game. So it is getting spread around only these 3 players currently. No one else is really involved in this offense. No Mike Williams. So I definitely do consider Allen Lazard being a very good flex play this week as well, just because of how big of a week he had last week. And it's kind of different with Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce only had 3 targets, but he had the big plays. Allen Lazard got 9 targets in this offense. So he's definitely been one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets all throughout his career, and I think it's going to continue to stay that way with this Jets team. So definitely Allen Lazard is another guy that I would definitely consider flexing this week after a very strong performance that he had. Now, another guy that I would also consider flexing this week, and actually didn't have the best game, but if T. Higgins is out, I think Yoshi's a guy you should definitely consider starting for a flex spot. He looks like he's going to be the number 2 guy on this offense going into this week. And he played 48 offensive snaps. He played more snaps than Jamar Chase did, which, yes, Jamar Chase had to hold out his whole offseason. But it's looking like they have a lot of belief in this guy. And with because of the amount of snaps he's going to be playing, and he did get 6 targets in this game, I do think he's got a little bit of value. And no T. Higgins, I think that he is definitely a guy that I think's worth flexing, no doubt. Any other guys that I think are worth flexes? I would say Wan'Dale Robinson, just because of the fact that he had 12 targets in this game, but we're still a little bit worried about this Giants offense. I'm not really too sure what to expect from them. So Wan'Dale's a little bit of a sketchy one, but definitely worth a bench spot, no doubt, just because of the volume that he's getting. And then other than that, Shakir's another guy that I would maybe consider flexing this week if you need a guy that had a pretty decent performance last week, got the touchdown, and he could end up being one of Allen's favorite targets going throughout the season. So we are still kind of debating who's number 1 on this team. Keon Coleman's looking like he's going to be that guy, but Shakir is right behind him. So Shakir's another guy that I would definitely recommend flexing this week if you need a flex. Greg Dortch is another guy that I would expect maybe to have a bigger role in this offense than people were anticipating. I would say that he definitely had a pretty decent week. He's one of those guys, kind of like Rashee Rice. You're going to see him in the midfield a lot. He's going to be that midfield target that Kyler Murray's going to like a lot. So Greg Dortch is another solid flex play to me. Definitely consider him if you need a guy. Other than that, I think that's really it. There's not really any other guys wide receiver-wise that I'm thinking are worth a start. Now, obviously, we got to talk about Jordan Mason, thumbnail. Huge week for him last week. Expecting him to have another big week if Christian McCaffrey is out. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not going to be involved in the passing game that much, but just because he is on such an elite offense, he's going to have success. So definitely worth a start if Christian McCaffrey's out. I put him at probably a high-end RB2 this week. I think he's definitely one of those guys that I would consider starting over some of these other running backs just because of the offense that he's on. And then Joe Mixon, I'm expecting to boom again this week. Joe Mixon had a very strong last week. And, yes, it's a little bit concerning seeing him not play third downs or any 2-minute drills or anything like that, which is fine. But Joe Mixon should definitely be having another big bounce-back week. And they're going to be playing the Titans this week too. So I definitely expect Joe Mixon to have a good week. I think they're going to be running the ball a lot against Chicago. Chicago's secondary looked a lot better than we expected that first week. So, Joe Mixon should definitely thrive in this offense this upcoming week. Kenneth Walker's a questionable tag right now. If he doesn't play, this is the only reason I'm bringing it up, is just in case Kenneth Walker doesn't play, Zach Charbonnet, I think, is a must-start guy. I think Zach Charbonnet has a big role in this offense, and he's going to be a really good on both sides of the ball, from rushing to pass catching. I think Zach Charbonnet is definitely one of those guys I would consider starting this week if no Kenneth Walker. Now, yes, they are playing the Patriots. The Patriots looked really tough. Their defense looked great last week. I do think that Charbonnet is still a must-start guy. I think he will definitely play very well if no Kenneth Walker. And then I'm hoping for a bounce-back week for James Cook, but obviously the only thing that worries me about James Cook is Josh Allen taking his rushing touchdowns. So really the volume is always going to be there for James Cook. It's just the touchdown aspect. Is he going to be getting rushing touchdowns taken away from him just because of Josh Allen's rushing ability? Unfortunately, yes, that's what sucks about this offense. That's what sucks having him on your team. But he's going to have the volume. The volume will always be there. There's no one else competing in this backfield, so James Cook should hopefully have a good week, and I hope he has a good game tonight. We'll see how it goes. Now, Ramondre Stevenson had a huge game last week. Do I expect him to have another big game this week? Probably not. I don't think he will go to that level, but definitely he's got a big role in this offense. And also we do have to realize Antonio Gibson was a little beat up going into the last game, so that's maybe why his role was limited. So you just got to keep that in the back of your mind. But I think Stevenson, you got to start him for sure after the week that he had. I do think that he definitely will have a pretty good matchup against the Seahawks here. He's definitely the bell cow back. So hopefully he'll get another rushing touchdown for you guys who have Stevenson. He's a great start this week for me. ETN, definitely a little bit of a concern after seeing him last week and Take Bigsby being involved in this offense. I think that Travis Etienne will still be the goal line back regardless, so he should have some touchdown chances in this game. And now that they're playing the Browns, it will be a little tough of a defense to play against, but I wouldn't be worried about that too much. The Browns' defense didn't look as great as we thought it was going to be last week, so definitely consider Etienne being a pretty big guy to play this week. Definitely consider him having a good role. Jerome Ford definitely should have a good week again. Yes, this offense does not look good, but he got a lot of usage. He's a very good pass catcher as well. I definitely consider him being I'd say a low end RB2, mid RB2 going into this week. He's definitely looking like he will have a pretty big week once again against the Jaguars. So keep that in mind. I think he will play very well. And then got to talk about a couple other guys, and then we will talk about QBs. David Montgomery played great. He's still looking like he's got a huge role in this Detroit offense. So definitely worth a start. Really, the only thing is there's not a clear goal line back in this game or on this team yet, because Montgomery had some goal line opportunities as well as Jahmyr Gibbs. So you always have that going on. You just don't know who to expect to score every week for these guys, or even both score. That always happened last week or last year too. But playing Tampa Bay, I will say that they did give up a lot of rushing yards, so their rushing attack should thrive this week, and it's going to be both of them popping off. So I think this is definitely a game where you could see both running backs for the Lions pop off. J.K. Dobbins, after the huge week he had last week, I don't see why you can't start him. He had the most surprising week out of all running backs, and now they're going to be going up against the Panthers. So I would expect J.K. Dobbins to have another big week going against a terrible defense that the Panthers have. So definitely take advantage of that. I think J.K. Dobbins will have a huge week. Gus Edwards, if he's not involved in this offense anymore, I think that guy is considered a drop. But you can't forget J.K. Dobbins' injuries that he's had in the past. You always have that in the back of your mind. So just if he ends up getting hurt, Gus Edwards is the guy on this team, it looks like. Let's see. Definitely would avoid Zamir White. DeAndre Swift did not have a good week last week. I hope he has a bounce back this week. I think that the Bears offense will look better overall. So I think Swift, the good thing about Swift is he's definitely like the lead guy in this backfield when we were expecting him maybe to be in a bigger committee. So that's good to see. Tony Pollard's going to be interesting to watch this week too. We'll see if he has as much success as he did his last week. But obviously Tajee Spears is still taking a lot of the third down role. And he's definitely still around, so can't forget that. And then QBs this week. Jaden Daniels is definitely a guy that looks like he's gonna thrive fantasy football wise this year just because of his rushing ability. The guy looks like he's gonna be really good, so definitely a guy worth starting. Joe Burrow's a little bit of a worry after his first week. Will I expect him to have a better bounce back week? Yeah, we'll see. I think they're playing the Chiefs, so it's going to be – he plays really good against the Chiefs usually, so I would probably expect him to have a better game. But we'll see. Hopefully Jamar Chase is going to be even more involved in this offense because I really think that plays a part. And if T. Higgins plays too, so that's a big thing. And then let's see, Justin Fields against – who are they playing? Denver. So Justin Fields against Denver. This should be a pretty good game too. I think the Steelers should end up winning this game, but I think Justin Fields is definitely a guy that has such a big rushing ability and stuff. I think he's definitely a guy worth starting this week if you do have him, and you're a little concerned about some other guy QBs that you have. I would probably stay away from some guys such as Daniel Jones still. I'd probably stay away from Aaron Rodgers. I'd probably stay away from Malik Willis, obviously. I wasn't really too impressed with Geno Smith's first week, but he didn't play bad. He had that rushing touchdown, which kind of brought his points up. Definitely stay away from Bryce Young, Will Levis, Jacoby Brissett, Deshaun Watson, Bo Nix. Those are just some guys I would definitely consider staying away from. And then guys that I think will boom this week, Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, those guys should all boom this week. Brock Purdy should have a great week. CJ should have a great week. I think Kyler will have a good bounce back week too against the Rams. He should have a lot of success against that defense. Tua should have a pretty big week too against the Bills. And then Stafford looked really good week 1 as well. So Stafford's definitely a guy worth considering. Anthony Richardson should play very well too. So, yeah, those are the QBs. Let's see. I think I'm going to call it. We're in 26 minutes into this stream. I think that's a good amount of time. But good luck to everyone in fantasy this week. Excited to watch this game tonight. Leave in the comment section who you think is going to win tonight. Who are your boom and bust guys as well? And we will be back for another video soon.